Hello and welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 63 for Tuesday, September the 17th, 2013. Welcome back, guys. We've got a very special episode for you this week. My name is Rainbow Plasma, and today I'm joined by...
Burn to One, the special guest coordinator. And I'm confused. And I'm editing not this episode?
Yes, this episode.
You're editing this episode.
Okay, this episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't need to say your role, so then I got lost. I'm sorry.
Roll with it, Burn! Roll with it!
I'm Flutterguy317, and I'm the media manager.
I am Atmos Spark. I do questions and the DeviantArt page.
Yay!
All right. So, this episode of the Cutie Art Crusaders is brought to you by Kanashi Panda and the newly released Adventures of Prince Duskshine. Follow Duskshine on a magical horse adventure as he goes through many different landscapes and practices his prancing for the upcoming Canterlot Ball. I can't really describe much about the series. All I know is that the catchline is "Every pony's gay for Prince Duskshine." So check it out. And we're not actually sponsored. I just wanted to show the video. Show the video, Burned! This is going to be a weird intro. I'm going to say this first of all. Not only because we just showed a very strange video of Prince Duskshine walking backwards, but also because we did something silly this week, and that's why we're recording this episode right now. So, Bern, do you want to talk about what this episode's theme is and what happened yesterday, I guess?
Well, you see, yesterday, Friday the 13th, which is when we were recording, we recorded our entire episode and the theme of it. And I don't even remember. What was our theme for yesterday?
Lyra.
So we did an entire Lyra-themed episode on Friday the 13th. And then...
Went really well.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode. We all liked it. We're all happy. Yep. So we record the whole thing for an hour, and then we all get done. And so we're like, all right, yep, let's stop. And we hit the stop button, and we were all saving our audio, and then we were getting some editing, maybe editing
the first thing you said,
too.
The very first thing you said was this too.
Quote.
What?
I don't even remember. It was more relevant than that.
You just So during the episode, there was a question asked,
which you'll see next week, by the way.
Yes, that'll be next week's episode. We're putting them out of order. But during that episode, there was a question asked about Rule 63.
Yes.
And we answered it, and we were all fine, and we didn't think about it for one reason or another. And then the episode ends, we all stop recording, and the first thing that Bern says
right when I'm saving it. Right when I was saving the episode. Just like, oh, hey, look, it's episode 63, I get it.
And then we all paused, and we all went, oh, like none of us got it.
Like,
none of us made that connection in our head.
Oh my god, this is episode 63. Why do we just make a Lyra episode?
Yeah, so I mean, we had to, because this is the only opportunity we're ever going to get, and I wanted to get around to this eventually, so we figured, why not just record another podcast, put this one out this week, and then the Lyra one out next week.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing. It's gonna sound weird when it comes out, but yeah, so...
Yeah, especially because we reference our episode about gender swapping, or Rule 63, in the Lyra episode. Is going to happen in the future.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess. But thank goodness Burned is editing these.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, yeah, this week's theme, in case you haven't already figured it out, is Rule 63, which, in case people don't know, can someone please inform them?
Pinky Dash, go.
For every character that exists, for every male character that exists, a female character will also exist, and vice versa. It's one of the rules of the internet.
Yep. Right. So for all characters, there must be a gender-swapped version of the character, and MLP is no exception. Speaking of gender swaps, Burned, You swapped your gender recently, didn't you?
You became more manly.
Yeah. So something that was actually like a big deal for me was I got my haircut recently. And it was funny because we were talking about haircuts before our episode on Friday the 13th, and I was like, well, now is a good time as any. And then I sent an Imager link to everyone in the chat, and they were like, oh my gosh, and like Rainbow Plasma freaked out. And I haven't told anyone, and like my Facebook still has my picture of like me with long hair, so like no one but like my family and then friends who've seen me know. But it was a big deal. And the
just all of my dreams have come true.
It's funny because like the question,
it's everything I ever hoped it would be.
The question I get all the time is like, oh my gosh, like why did you do it? And like that's the big one. Like I don't know. My
dreams have been crushed.
I got my haircut. I got my haircut short, specifically 2 weeks ago because we were having a big family get together, and I wanted my grandma to see me with short hair, because she's kind of not doing really well. So that was like kind of important to me that she saw that. So that's why I got my haircut. If anyone's curious.
Mm-hmm. So now you don't match your pony anymore.
I don't.
So someone has to
you
draw.
Also shaved.
A little bit, right?
I am keeping the beard because I don't know. I've already lost so much. I don't want to lose my beard.
So someone has to draw Euro C now with short hair.
Yeah, I was actually going to vector myself. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
This episode, by the way, for all of our fan artists out there, this episode is going to be heavy on the fan art. So go wild.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Also, just before we go to art, I just want to say I got my plushie finally. I'm happy. It's Cloud Chaser, and it's by Chibi Pets on DeviantArt, and it's adorable.
Oh, Chibi Pets is amazing.
Check them out.
Yay. So
enough wasting time.
Art.
This episode is actually about Rule 63. We've got about 4 pieces here that we're going to present to you, and during the entire time, the interesting thing about this episode is I personally am going to try to kind of talk about Rule 63 as a general idea and how it can affect art. So it might not be the super artsiest episode, but it should still be educational and interesting. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that.
So our first piece is called...
Wait. I gotta do my transition.
Okay.
Sorry, I just interrupted you for like the 3rd time in a row. But
okay.
Go Dusk Shine transition. So our first piece
is called Discord R63 by none other than a Trill.
Who's been on the show before.
Yeah. This is the R63 version of Discord.
But do you remember the name?
Which is called Eris.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Anybody know where that came from?
I don't remember, but this is definitely one of the more popular Rule 63s. I believe there's a Tumblr, there's an Eris Tumblr, something like that might have started it. I don't know.
It probably started in a fanfic or something.
Do you guys know the relevance of the name Eris by chance?
I do not. Would you like to educate us?
If you give me a moment to Google it.
This episode of Cutie Art Crusaders is sponsored by Google. Actually, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, if anyone's curious about the relevance of the name Eris, Eris is the Greek goddess of chaos, strife, and discord. Her name began a literal translation into Latin as Discordia, where Discordia means discord. Her Greek opposite is Harmonia. Get it?
Yep. Seems about perfect to me.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, seeing as My Little Pony is full of Greek mythology.
So wait, is the R63 of Celestia called Harmonia, or no?
It could.
I don't know. That doesn't sound very manly.
Yeah, it
that doesn't sound very manly.
Yeah.
Harmonian.
Harmonian.
Harmonica.
I actually don't know.
Harmo.
Oh God. Man, that is skirting the line right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Eris has a golden apple.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what the significance of that is.
You know,
I don't follow enough
the
Tumblrs.
first thing I thought of was Minecraft.
So
Yeah.
you see the golden apple. No, there's actually a lot into the golden apple that I actually don't know myself, and it goes really deep. It goes into like Roman and Greek mythology, and it also goes really deep into like Christian mythology and stuff like that. But it has a lot to do with the Apple of Eden. And its significance in that. So, hey, Burn1 here. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, but today I wanted to talk about the golden apple, or more commonly referred to as the apple of discord, ironically enough. That golden apple that Eris is holding, in this case, the R63 version of Discord, is actually a specific object from Greek mythology from the specific myth, the Judgment of Paris. And in this Greek myth, Eris, the Greek goddess of discord or strife, actually tosses a golden apple inscribed with "to the fairest" on it, and then tosses it into the festivities of a wedding between the deities Pelis and Thetis, which then sparks basically a big argument between a bunch of other Roman gods, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Aphrodite being, the goddess of beauty, and then Athena being Zeus's wife. And this little debacle between the three goddesses actually leads to the Trojan War. And there's a whole lot more to it. You can actually go read the story yourself if you go look up the Judgment of Paris. And that golden apple that sparked the whole thing, including the entirety of the Trojan War, is now referred to as the Apple of Discord, which really, if you think about it, sounds exactly like something what Discord would do. Hence, Discord is actually, based off of Eris from the show, Greek mythology, things like that. So with that being known, it actually makes a lot of sense that a trill would actually draw Eris holding the golden apple, hence what that goddess is famous for. It's probably the most well-known myth that Eris is, the Greek goddess Eris is actually known for. Which is actually pretty cool. We didn't know that when we were recording, but I looked it up after we were done and read through the myth and then read a bunch of wikis on it and stuff like that to kind of get more acquainted with it. When I was referring to the fruit of Eden on the show, I was referring to obviously what's more commonly known as the apple of Eden that Eve actually picks off of the tree of knowledge. And actually in that story, it's actually just referred to as the fruit, but we all just assume that the fruit is an apple. And then specifically picking fruit off of a tree goes deep within Roman and Greek mythology, and Roman and Greek mythology actually leads to Catholic and Protestant mythology, which I also got wrong, saying that it was Christian, blah, blah, that comes after. In those Roman and Greek stories, actual apples and golden apples are very common symbols in other myths, and are usually being stolen from kings or something, or they're forbidden fruits more commonly that are being picked, and there's lots of myths, and it eventually leads to other myths, which eventually led to the development of Christian Protestant religion and the stories from there. If you ever take art history during the Roman Catholic era, you'll learn all about it. So when I heard golden fruit, that's just what I assumed is what it was based off of, getting, I kind of thought of Eris as the snake in the Garden of Eden that, coaxed Eve into picking the fruit from the tree of knowledge and getting Adam and Eve kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and so on and so forth, because that also seems something like Discord would do. And it's actually kind of funny because that story is actually based off of Roman and Greek mythology, which is what Discord is based off of, and then now we're back to My Little Pony in the Shell. But anyway, some cool stuff, a cool story that we didn't know beforehand, and I hope you enjoyed that. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I was assuming that, but I didn't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know it does have deep roots in Greek mythology and stuff.
Because it's not more I don't think it's more the significance of that it's a specifically golden and an apple. It's just the fact that it's a fruit, and then eventually it became warped into what is now a golden fruit. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm sure there's some sort of significance that we're completely missing.
Yeah, for sure.
We're so educational.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about this is that Discord is such a unique character, such a unique looking character, that when considering a gender swap, I think it's one of the characters that changes the most. Discord himself is not exactly a handsome stallion, as you would say. He's got this kind of strange look to him. kind of like a mythical creature or something like that. But Eris, I mean, this is drawn by a Trill, so it's obviously a little anthropied and things like that. But even for the most part, with most things, it's been changed to have quite a cute face to her and a little bit, better body proportions, less snake-like and things like that. So
she looks feminine.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what artists will take when they do Rule 63, as we'll see a lot more in this episode. Just physical anatomy of Rule 63 is really interesting, because you have to be able to keep the character recognizable and realistically speaking, if they actually did swap genders, but at the same time give them enough difference where it doesn't just look like the same character but slightly different. And I think what the really cool thing about Eris and Discord is, from the small experience that I have with them, it's almost as if they have two very similar but not the same personalities. And I think that's a really smart thing to do. Don't just stick the same character in a different gendered body, or it's got to have its own personality in order to flourish as a character in itself, which is a really cool thing.
Yeah, because I think it's important for the character to portray what that character's important part is, like Discord being discordantly and chaotic, so it'd be important that she would be similar, but it's still, I think characters have a specific, what do you want to call it, like aura, like energy about them or whatever that has to do with the gender they are. If that makes sense. I guess that sounded like a lot of rubbish.
No, that's totally the case. And actually, there was funny. I was having a conversation with one of our fans. I don't remember who for the life of me. I think it was during one of my editing sessions. But we were talking about the fact that, remember when we had that silly question a couple of weeks ago when it was like, if would any of you, if I was turned into a girl, would any of you date me?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a really interesting concept too, because the whole, like, is this character suddenly swapped to a different gender, or was it always a different gender from the start? Because using that as an example, obviously if I switched into a girl, suddenly it would still be weird because you've known me as a guy, right?
Right.
So that's a completely different thing. But I think if I was born a girl, it would be a little bit different.
Yeah, if it was like if it was a girl version of you,
right? Exactly.
Then yeah.
Right. So by the same token, you have to consider, are these swapped versions, as in suddenly they clicked over and bam, they're in the wrong bodies, or was this a character that grew up? Because both genders are different. They act differently. They're treated differently, and it leads to different life experiences.
Just that whole thing behind gender norms is actually like really interesting, because like we all watch a show of colorful ponies meant for girls. So
right.
Bringing up swapping something's gender, it creates like a whole new interesting controversy, and like kind of one that we're really used to, because obviously we watch a show about candy-colored ponies for little girls. But when you do change a character and change its gender, or that character will act differently. There's not really an argument about it. That character will act differently in specific ways that have to do with because we give it to them because of gender norms in society is how we expect genders to behave and stuff.
Yes.
And something I do want to bring up kind of while we're on the topic talking about that is I guess Ted would know what I'm talking about, but my favorite episode of Adventure Time is with Fiona and Cake, when that whole episode they specifically gender swap the characters.
Such a
good episode. It's the only episode of Adventure Time I've ever seen, and I was so confused.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's so good.
it was my favorite episode, and all of the controversies they talked up in there, like the moral of the story and everything, was perfect. And I mean, all the characters were their gender swapped forms, and they all acted appropriately for being swapped and how that character would act, and it was all great. Like Fiona acted great, especially in the end, and all the characters, especially Ice Queen. So the Ice King has this crazy old man vibe about him because he's this old wizard, but when it was turned into an Ice Queen, now she acts more like a witch rather than this crazy wizard. She's much more witch-like. He was rather. But that concept again was done really cool, really well. So if you like this whole concept of R63, definitely go check that out.
Guys, in case you're interested, I found the origin of Eris.
Do tell.
Go on.
It is a DeviantArt user by the name of jacquelinedreams.deviantart.com, and it's linked in the chat.
Sweet.
Cool.
Now, yes, I believe Jacqueline Dreams might have created that character. It's one of those characters that was created by the fandom and has kind of just become a thing within the fandom, you know?
Yeah.
We'll see later in this episode gender swap versions of the main 6, and I think everyone's kind of established, you know, the names and the styles of those characters, and it just kind of starts out from one person and then just flourishes from there until it's kind of no longer your character, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. But this is where it started.
I want to point out that even though that Deviant may have created the original version of how Discord's R63 character looks or acts, or may have been the first Deviant to come up with the name Eris, it is very hard to copyright or claim or state claims towards the name Eris, considering Eris was actually a Greek god from Greek mythology that has existed for thousands of years. So it kind of makes a lot of sense that this gender swapped version, that everyone would be on the same terms with it and everyone would agree that this really works for the gender swapped role of this character, considering that Eris is basically what Discord is based off of, and even the figure that Discord is based off of Greek mythology, and they're kind of mixed together. So while Jocelyn Dreams may own the rights to the first character that she created of Discord, I don't think she owns specific rights to the name.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So,
Well,
do we want to move
Dusk Shine transition! Man, I wonder how old that's going to get. The answer is not at all.
So our next piece is called Hooves Suck by Veggie55, which I think we may have briefly had on the show during the Veggie55 episode.
Yeah, maybe. I think one of us might have flashed it up on the screen or something.
Yeah, but still, Gyra, which is the R63 version of Lyra that Veggie55 came up with, is kind of iconic in a lot of his comics, and it's probably one of the better known R63
Characters
in the fandom. Yeah.
I mean, besides from the main 6 and all that, you know?
Yeah.
Spectacular pun.
Yes.
Just incredible.
Yes.
Just great.
So good.
I think Veggie55, because Veggie55 tends to weave a story more into his stuff because he makes comics. And I think Veggie55 does a really good job of portraying Gyra as a character that has been born as the different gender.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just Lyra that's in a guy's body. It is the guy equivalent of her.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is like how you should look at it, you know? Or at least when we're looking into character depth.
Not necessarily. Sometimes you can, like, if you're weaving the story around, suddenly they switch bodies. You know, that's a different thing.
Fanfic.
But you're right. In most scenarios, people should look at it from the scenario of how would this person go if they were born like this. You know.
Right.
Cutie Art Crusaders, fan art critiquers, yay! Or not fan art. I was actually going for fanfic. Sorry. Fanfic critiquers. There we go. Whatever.
No, thanks. I'm good. But yeah, Veggie55 is definitely one of the more well-known, his whole thing with Gyra.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, wasn't Gyra created, in the storyline, wasn't he created by Lyra? Like,
I believe
thought
so,
up by Lyra?
Yeah, I think the introduction comic was kind of vague on it. Let me see if I can find it. You guys keep going here.
Well, I have seen... it's probably not relevant. Oh, it's a little bit relevant. I've seen a comic that I get not by Veggie, but by somebody else who mimics Veggie style, where Lyra created another opposite. But I don't know if that was fanon or not. Well, fanon for Gyra, which is fanon anyway.
Yeah, everything's fanon here. Let's be honest. All Rule 63 is fanon. Don't say the Applejack thing.
What
that
was
fake.
Bon Bon's guy name?
Bon
Boy
Boy.
Bon? Bon Boy.
Bon Boy.
Yeah.
That's so good. I love the puns.
I
They're so
love
good.
puns. Puns are my favorite thing.
Yeah. Gyra was definitely worth a mention in this episode, though. Because like last time we mentioned Gyra and Veggie's comics was when we had Veggie on the show, right? And that was now
which is
over
like
a year
ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's over a year.
Wow.
Jeez.
And also,
Time
fun
flies.
fact, the first episode I ever edited, which is why
Yeah,
I
that's
remember it so well, because when we were bringing up art,
Because you hated
when we were
it.
bringing up art before the show, I I was like, we've featured this Gyra comic and all these like veggie comics before. It's like, I remember it. And it's like, I remember it like being really soon, even though it was like a complete year ago. This was when I first started editing.
Yeah,
that's like the worst episode to edit when you have comics coming out.
It was easy enough because I had Photoshop experience, so I literally went into Photoshop and then like cut it all. I cut them into multiple images, and then when I would drag them into the Sony Vegas, it would center them for me, so none of them were the aspect ratio for the screen. I would just drag them in. It was great. It worked out great.
Yeah. I think that's the episode I didn't watch.
Look at you, man.
Ooh.
I don't.
You never watched my episodes. What a jerk.
Yeah. That's not true. I'm at the live stream. Come at me, bro. Anyways, we don't have a lot to say. It's a funny comic. Gyra is kind of a staple thing, and I think it would be remiss of us not to mention it at least once in a Rule 63 episode.
Well, what's interesting with this whole piece in each of these frames is that you can see both Lyra in her female form and Gyra in male form. So you can see like the differences between the two physically and in the art. So like Lyra's muzzle is very curved, whereas Gyra's is very sharp and pointed and square. And like with the eyebrows, Lyra has eyebrows and Gyra does not.
I mean eyelashes?
Or lashes.
There we go.
Yeah, thanks.
Lashes.
Yeah.
Well, there's also little subtle things that Veggie's kind of done here, and that's just within their own poses of the body. In every single shot, or every single panel, I guess you'd say, they're doing the same actions, but they have their own gender spin for the actions. So in the first and third panel, Lyra is kind of like standing, but it's kind of like a wider stance, and it's a little bit more excited, whereas Gyra's got kind of more of a stoic stance. And then the second panel, which is a great example of the difference between the two, they both kind of lift their hoof in an embarrassed way, but I think Lyra's is a much more feminine gesture, whereas Gyra's is a much more kind of awkward guy gesture.
Because Lyra's comes across her body, which definitely gives it that
it's
more...
it's like a protective kind of gesture.
Yeah.
Whereas Gyra's is a lot more... God, it's hard to distinguish between the two names.
I know.
Gyra is more of an awkward kind of stance, but it's the same kind of lifting motion.
Because you get that like females are more emotional than males, so it's like they try to show less emotion, blah blah. Also,
well, there's a whole episode of gender politics in here, but let's just push that down.
What is it? Oh yeah. And also things like, I think artists sometimes overlook, because normally like ponies, I think ponies in the show all have the same body type, like all the same bloody body size. So for alicorns, and then of course Big Mac. So it's sometimes when people draw males, it's like, oh, Big Mac, buff, pony. But normal guy ponies on the show just have the same body build as like normal ponies, except when you get to like, what is that guy? Not Filthy Rich, but the Fleur, the dude Fleur.
Yeah, Fleur-de-lis.
Fleur that she was following around, like leaning on the was it Fancy Pants?
Fancy Pants?
Fancy Pants.
Yeah, maybe.
I think he had a little bit of a taller build than the other ponies in the show. But anyway, if you look at the two characters in this comic in the panel, like Lyra has a lighter set body than Gyra does. Gyra's a little heavier, stands a little straighter, and back isn't as curved, stuff like that. Wider chest. So it's like the male version of the character is more, masculine built, which I think is a nice touch.
Bigger, thicker, a little bit taller, less graceful, which is what I think you were trying to get at before with Lyra. She looks a bit graceful, whereas men aren't graceful.
Says you.
Unless you know.
And she's a little bit more peppy.
I am a graceful fairy. So you have to see my fairy stance.
Quite the fairy.
I can attest to this. What?
I'm like a ballerina of pure manliness.
So.
Oh, wait, stop. Story time. So, speaking of burn and fairy stance.
Short story time.
So, way back in the day, high school, friends are coming over to my house. We have a bunch of fireworks. It's near 4th of July. So, we decide to attack them with Roman candles because it'll be funny, right? So we have me and my friends. Friend Chad climbs all the way up in a tree with a bunch of Roman candles and hides in the top of this tree. And then they start walking in the back, and then I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And then all of a sudden, I have these like streamers or something, or it's like toilet paper, whatever the heck I managed to get, ribbons, and I start dancing like a beautiful fairy, just like and cawing like a bird, and like, what the hell is going on? And you hear this, and this Chad starts shooting fireworks at him. Great. It's the best distraction tactic ever. Burns High School. There you go. All right, that's it.
How can I picture this so clearly in my mind?
Fantastic. But in my friend group, I'm pretty famous for Burns Fairy Stance.
Dusk sign.
So our next piece is called Spell Gone Wrong by Little Ivy 25, and otherwise known as Brayburned. And this is a piece that depicts, I think it's probably the main 6 who have turned into their R63 versions.
Yes, and that is why it was important to make that distinction, because this piece is 99% sure that it's just kind of
it's just
a spell gone wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
Where they were in their regular female bodies, and then Twilight accidentally turned them all into guys. I was wondering why it mattered,
but you had a plan all along.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot Plasma.
I think the best part about this is they've all kept their own personalities. They're not an alternate personality; they're just an alternate gender.
Right.
And you can tell that just from one static image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially
with
yeah.
Exactly. Or I would actually say Rarity is probably the closest one. It's very dramatic feminine pose there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Rarity is not just like, I'm actually beautiful. I'm very handsome.
Oh my, who is this handsome stallion looking back in the mirror? But yeah, it's a really
Spike's like, what do I do now?
So we've come to the topic of the main 6 swapping genders, and that is, oh man, I don't remember all their names, but there's kind of an established design and established names for each of the characters. I remember Rainbow Blitz, Duskshine, of course, Applejack because ha ha ha. I think Fluttershy turns into Butterscotch.
Yeah.
Pinkie Pie is Bubbleberry, and Rarity is Elusive Gem?
No, just Elusive, I think.
I'm good. But yeah, so this is probably the most famous Rule 63 stuff, because it's obviously the main 6, and they're the most popular characters, so... but yeah, it's interesting to see the different designs that people have come up with and kind of established with these characters, because I think they fit pretty well.
Yeah, definitely.
Did Spike change? Cause,
no.
Okay, because I'm looking at it and it looks like he's just walked in on this and dropped the tray of food he was carrying.
Yeah, and Spike didn't change.
That's why Duskshine is like, oh god, magic.
Yeah, you could see the fizzle of magic on his horn. And the derped eyes. Yeah.
Rainbow Blitz is so embarrassed.
I think the best part about it is watching different people attempt to masculinize Applejack.
Masculinize. You've said the word of the day.
Yeah, masculinate. Emasculize? No, that's wrong.
No, make more manly.
Masculinize is fine. That's a word.
Yes, Applejack. Because not only does the name not change, but the interesting thing about Applejack is that she's got a bit of male tendencies with the hat, and just, I don't know, the way she carries herself is very confident and stoic.
Tomboy.
And when we were talking earlier about the fact that when you change to a guy, sometimes, usually it goes to that like confident and stoic, or at least a little bit more firmly rooted in body, I guess. It's interesting to see what people's interpretations are, because usually Applejack's the one that changes the least.
Mm-hmm. She's a tomboy-like character, so is Rainbow Dash.
It's true. Both of those characters are ones that don't change tremendously. And I think the farther you go, like if you were to make a scale, and on the left-hand side of the scale was the most tomboy, and the right-hand side of the scale was most
feminine,
girly, feminine. Thank you, better world. Then you'd see that the ones on the right-hand side of the scale, when they switch over like crazy. I mean, look at Rarity; it's changing to Elusive.
How would you rate them out of curiosity? So like starting from most masculine or most male or tomboy.
I would go Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Twilight, Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Rarity.
Yeah,
well, that's interesting, because if you look at this,
which I just found out is eerily exactly the same as how I rate the main 6.
Genders.
Because if you look at this one particular image, Pinky hasn't changed that much. Just the shape of her muzzle. Everything else is pretty much the same as what it would be normally. Hair's the same.
Yeah.
Eyes the same. Body shape is the same, mostly. She hasn't changed that much.
Now, the only issue I have with that is that, well, I guess I'll just call him Brayburn's. Brayburn's interpretation of Bubbleberry or Pinkie Pie hasn't really shown the proper hairstyle that is usually traditionally shown. Our next piece, which we'll bring up in a second, which shows more of their kind of their regular hairstyles, gives a much more masculine feel to Bubbleberry in that one. The unfortunate thing is that this one really came off as Pinkie Pie, because I don't know, the hair wasn't changed as much as I think it normally would be for other artists.
It's just a guy Pinkie Pie.
It's true.
Pinky
And
guy.
I mean,
Pie.
sometimes all
Pinky guy.
sometimes
Bad
all it
name.
needs is Pinky Guy.
There we go. Much better.
Good musician, by the way.
Yeah, all it needs sometimes is just a change of a muzzle, and you can have quite a different character.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the way that you kind of laid out the main 6, if it wasn't for Pinkie Pie, I think this picture would depict it basically in that order, or maybe with Applejack in front of Rainbow Dash, because or just like with how concerned they are with the change, because Applejack is just like doesn't care.
Whatever.
Rainbow Dash or Blitz,
Rainbow Blitz.
is
kind of
like, concerned but not terribly concerned.
Yeah.
And then, well,
Twilight's in the middle, and then
Yeah.
you have Fluttershy. And then you have Fluttershy, which is like like concerned,
very
and then you have
embarrassed. And then
Rarity, which is really, really, and then Pinkie Pie breaks everything.
Yeah.
But of course,
but I think
that's what she does.
that's probably just Pinkie Pie because, she's Pinkie Pie.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting. I mean, that's the cool thing, and I think that's why this piece is really good. It's because, Brayburn has taken into account the personalities, and he's understood that the situation is they're their own characters swapping into these bodies. And that's why I said it's a really important thing, because you have to consider the characters' reactions to things. So yeah, it's a great example of that, of the literal gender swap, like instant gender swap.
That's why you don't cast spell 63.
Exactly. All this spell said is it's called spell 63. I wonder what it does.
Yeah. Well, actually, it would be curious.
And they never went back.
It would be curious, like Rarity's character, because we all probably define her as the most effeminate, because like her and Fluttershy, like we would easily all like consider the most effeminate. But but she portrays like the very strong, like what do you want to call that? Strong woman, strong female character in the show. Very like independent and things like that. She's the, what is it? The element of generosity.
Generosity. Yeah.
So she has that really strong, independent woman air about her on the show. Again, I'm like sucking at words.
No, go on.
But
Vibe,
in
air,
her like in her R63 form, it would be curious to see like just the headcanon about that, or how the character would react.
Right. It would be really interesting to see the show's interpretation, like the actual legitimate show's interpretation of a gender swap.
Not even
or not even a gender swap, like from birth kind of thing,
Yeah. Not even just the
Like an
gender swap.
alternate
I'm just thinking
universe.
about like the male character. Would it be, like a very like metrosexual character or something like that,
or would it, or
like
yeah,
a very strong, effeminate male character? Like, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool.
Right, it's hard because you have to keep it relatable, right?
Yeah.
So I have to imagine that if you would switch it, then the scale would stay the same. It would still go in my own personal opinion, using me as an example, it would still go Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Twilight, Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Rarity, right? But it's just as if they took the scale and they just moved it, So it's really interesting, because I think the order stays the same. It's just yeah, it's a really interesting concept, and it's something that people. I think it's a really good exercise for people.
The point that I was trying to bring up too was just that Rarity's character is really controversial, because sometimes she's an unliked character, and like she's the most girly on the show, but she's also the one that doesn't portray that stereotype of like women can't be independent or strong. So she's a really good character for the show. So it's just like, I was just thinking about her male character would also be very controversial and something that you like don't see in animation or quite often, like an effeminate male who's also strong, and like what would he be, like an interior designer? That's pretty stereotypical. But I mean, but it would still be a
interior designer.
let's just consider this for a second, okay?
Listening.
So on the scale here, left to right, like we were saying before, it went, feminine on the right, and then everything else was less feminine, right? So we have the scale. We've got that established scale that I made. Let's just use that as an example. It doesn't have to be perfect, but let's just use that as an example, right? So Rarity is feminine, which is already on the right, but she's the most feminine of the female characters, right? So that's like super far to the right, all the way to the right.
So
okay,
so
she's an extreme.
So pretty, fabulous.
Right. So she's an extreme. On the other end of the scale, while being a female character, Rainbow Dash is very tomboyish. Therefore, it's in that really gray area, There's a lot of gray area with her character because she's very masculine, yet she is a female character. When you move the scale the other side and when they all become male, suddenly Rainbow Dash becomes that extreme. It becomes a jock, just a guy,
normal.
Very much a guy.
yeah. Normal, what you would expect from a gender.
It's an extreme. It's still an extreme, But then you look at the other scale, and Rarity becomes the middle ground, and it becomes the controversial middle ground.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how even though they haven't changed in order, because of the way that males and females are viewed on this kind of scale, it changes their roles and how they would be portrayed.
That's well put. I like that about how Rainbow Dash and Applejack are both kind of that far scale of the female, like tomboy scale. And then Rarity is obviously the most female, but when you swap them, now Rarity is the most female, like male gender. It's that opposite part of the scale. Yeah. And that was the point I was kind of trying to make, is that perspective, Rarity's like male perspective on that scale, just I have not seen before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any character in animation that kind of carries that character. Jimmy from Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Yeah.
Make a reference none of us will get.
Like Ed, Edd n Eddy, Jimmy, the super effeminate guy, always plays with Ed's sister.
Nope.
Well, you guys have all failed me. Jimmy
I have a vague memory of it, but I can't remember exactly.
Jimmy's an effeminate character in Ed, Edd n Eddy who always has like tea parties and stuff.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And he's like the guy who likes to play with dollies, and there's even an episode about how he like plays with dollies, and then it turns out that like whatever. Go watch Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Burned.
It was a good episode.
Burned. Dusk.
Wait, before we move on.
Wait.
I believe I already said half of the statement already, and we're already 40 minutes in. You better make this quick.
It's a thing we have to do. It's a tradition. Zoom in on the dub face, Twilight.
Yeah.
Really?
For God's sakes. Dust sign. So our final pieces, if I may introduce them and steal your job for a second here, Ted. Or Flutter Guy, either way.
Everyone knows by now.
Our final piece is actually a combination of 6 pieces that I've lazily mashed together in GIMP because I'm lazy and it's late at night. But it's a combination of 6 pieces by Nolly CS or Nolix or something like that. It's NolYcs, and he or she has got 6 different portraits of the main 6 Rule 63ified, and I thought this was a really cool thing that we should go over. Because I think this is a really good way to just look at the characters directly and say, this is what their personalities, this is what their appearance would look like, swapped. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think?
I think that you put these in the order that you just talked about in the last piece, almost, except for Rarity and Fluttershy.
I screwed it up, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I mixed them. I do it honestly, I do it subconsciously.
Yeah.
I think Rarity has grown on me.
Yeah.
I think Rarity has grown
as
on me.
Of late. Like she was one of those characters that developed. I think we talked about that though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I might actually put Rarity ahead of Pinkie Pie on my list.
I still the reason
A
Fluttershy
certain-
always shines for me. I think I've said before, was just that one quote, just like, I'm older than you. Just like that.
Is it because you have the same hair?
Spitefulness,
had the same hair.
And
Oh
probably
my
that we have the
gosh,
same
wait.
hair.
Yeah, no, seriously, your hair is very much like Fluttershy's, and then now that it's cut, is very much like her R63.
No.
Kinda.
No.
Not really.
Excuse me.
Not really.
That
actually.
is the stretch of the century,
Yeah,
my
Do
friend.
not have huge bangs.
There is no swoop involved at all
No
in that.
swoopage.
Have met
I would
Baron
say if
can
there's anyone
confirm,
that was similar,
no
I
swoop.
would say that I would run by the Applejack one.
Yeah.
But
I
then,
would
he
have
also has a mullet.
Fluttershy's. More butterscotches.
Yeah, you would.
Anyways, can we talk about the art piece? Yes. You've got a very small amount of time. Let's talk about the actual art on the show,
Yeah.
please. So I think the cool thing about this one, I mentioned before, Bubbleberry or Pinkie Pie's Rule 63 version, that's a much more masculine, it's a much better kind of shorter hair version of it, and I think it conveys a little bit more masculinity to the character, even though it's supposed to be a goofy, bubbly character.
But it's because it's short. It's only on the top of her head.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but in the previous piece, it wasn't like that before, and that made him look a lot like Pinkie Pie.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, I think it makes a little bit more.
The
of that
hair
difference.
length makes him look very similar to the gender, but it's like again, guy who used to have long hair, I was gonna like speak up in the devil's advocate thing, where it's like I was a male with very long hair, so it's like I didn't have a problem with whatever Pinkie Guy's alternative name was having like just as long hair as Pinkie Pie did, because it's like it wasn't a thing that stood out to me as that genders shouldn't have whatever. But I mean,
well,
short hair is one of those distinct
it's
things
difficult,
that is
though.
masculine, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And the problem with that is, look, we can debate gender politics as much as you want, and you're absolutely right. It's not feminine for a guy to have long hair. You are not feminine because you had long hair burned. That's not how it works. But the fact of the matter is, from a majority stake, long hair is a feminine trait. So when we're establishing characters like these that you can only see through one picture, I think it's important to kind of regress a little bit into more stereotypical things, because it helps show a character's personality and show a character's kind of, especially with familiar characters like this. That's why we have the muzzles that are different looking, you know? In a character in the show, could there not be a feminine looking guy character? Yes, but it'd be very hard to convey that in the show, and honestly would not be worth the effort. So I think, you know, like you said, in real life, there's absolutely a lot more gray area. But when creating characters, I think it's important to kind of not be afraid to use a little bit of stereotyping, because it's not a bad thing, and it helps convey a character to a wider audience.
From what people are used to.
Well, and
exactly.
And with like a very visual medium, you kind of have to use more visual cues. So things like hair length and stuff, you kind of have to go with the stereotype to portray it.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things.
When you have a lot of small differences, hair is one of the biggest ones for these changes, you know?
Yeah, and it was...
So you have to do something.
When front on like this, rounded faces as well, that makes a big difference. Female faces are more pointy towards the chin, whereas male are more round.
Yeah.
Well, the show, I don't know if they do that, but that's really true to anime.
It's true to the show.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Shining Armor face on, it's very round.
Shining Armor has a unique face that no other cult has.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Shining Armor was crafted specifically to look masculine.
He's got a strange face.
Like, I was pretty sure that colts from the front are basically just recycled mares.
Yeah, it's true.
They're like, the only difference I noticed was that their nose was higher up and wider.
Yeah, there's that subtle difference.
Subtle differences. Subtle differences.
No eyelashes was the big giveaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my personal favorite here is the yoke that they chose to put around Applejack's neck.
Yeah.
Similar to something that Big Mac has, but I think it was a really good thing that they did, because, like I said before, Applejack is one of the characters that when she switched to a he, it's not a tremendous transition. unless they make him like Big Mac all of a sudden. It's like, whoa. But I think the yoke really adds personality to the character, and I like it. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how Rainbow Dash is all of a sudden some kind of like bad boy. Almost looks like
And he has that jagged eyebrow.
Villainous
Yeah,
character.
Well, I mean,
lightning eyebrow.
Yeah.
Because like
going back a little bit to what I
Harry
was talking
Trotter.
about when no, dear God, no. when you, like I was saying before, Rainbow Dash in the show as a female is kind of that middle, you know, the mix in between the two. But when you transition over to male, suddenly it becomes the extreme, you know? So this is extreme masculine. This is the mohawk. This is the you know, sharp-edged eyebrows. This is the cocky grin. This is all these things that are super masculine, because now that we're on the male side of it, Rainbow Dash is the extreme character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's actually quite fitting.
Yeah, so it's even more to the,
it's weird. When I
That
look
makes
at
sense.
Rainbow Dash, or Rainbow Blitz in the top left, it's like when I see the eyebrow and like the grin and I guess maybe the thicker eyelashes, I don't know if that's intentional, but and just like the look of that character, I have like other, you know, far out there characters that ring off in my head, of that personalities that are that far, you know, always want to impress, be better than kind of, you know, masculine figures. Two that come to my head is that dude from Breakfast Club, forget his name, the bad boy in Breakfast Club from the movie. And then Wario for some reason, I think because of the pointed eyebrows.
I don't think I would have ever seen the day when someone on the CAC would make a Breakfast Club reference.
Thank you.
And you were
Burns,
saying you were
for doing
masculine.
that.
My goodness.
What? It's a good movie.
Okay, they're elusive. Yeah, but yeah, I really, you know, one of the things that I found really cool about this fandom is that, you know, we established these 6 kind of designs for the main 6 gender swapped. Whoever did them, I don't know the origin of it. I probably should, but hey, we're a podcast, so we're not professional. We don't do research. So whoever or the collaborative effort between whoever made these 6 characters, I think it's really interesting because they're just so unique, and it's almost like they're different characters entirely. There's a lot of thought put into it. And there's a lot of good design. And I'm glad that there's good design because, you know, sometimes in fan stuff, people will come up with stuff and go, oh, this is really good, and it'll be not so good. But these are 6 really good character designs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're more or less this artist's characterization of them as well, you know? I mean, he's really put his, her individual spin on them. And, I mean, and with anything that's not canon, you know, it's always awesome to see, you know, a fan's interpretation of something. But as like you were saying, it is partial collaborative. So like the top left, Rainbow Blitz with like the swoopy hair and the spikiness and the jagged eyebrow, like I don't know. Maybe it's just his artist's original style, but I don't know. It seems very like unique to this artist, but
Yeah.
But it is nice to see that kind of collaboration in our fandom, like everyone making their own spin on what is the R63 of the characters, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's I think just a closing point here, and I think we might have to skip the questions this week because we're running kind of long here.
51, it's not long at all. Last week we were an hour and 7.
But one of the I want to really describe to people that R63 is something that is a little bit more thought out than just some silly rule on the internet, you know, where it has to be, if it's male, then it has to be female, if it's female, it has to be male,
Within
you know?
fandoms, anyway.
Yeah.
It can be a very educational thing to look into when you think about it a little bit, and it can be a really positive experience for you as a storyteller and as an artist too, because as an artist, you're supposed to convey these new personalities and differences between the characters through just one picture of them. So I think people should go out there and try it a little bit and see if they can get that kind of vibe off of there, because I think when you are an experienced enough artist that you can get that vibe down, I think you're doing pretty well.
So let's do a question. But first we need a transition.
What? Sorry, I'm confused here. What kind of transition?
A
shiny dusk.
shine. kind of. Maybe?
Oh,
Hey, some sort of animation you've been talking
You mean
about?
the Duskshine transition?
I hate all of you.
This question is dedicated to Smooth Sailing Pony.
Smooth shipping.
And you'll know why.
Yeah, really.
Fair enough. Okay, so if you could bring one of the more popular fan shippings into the show, which one would you choose? Sent in by Silverwisp or Sensko on DB9?
So, this is where we all reveal our ships. That's basically the question: is what is your ship? But I guess it's kind of like if you're going to bring it into the show too. So you do have to kind of keep it kind of legitimate, you know?
Yeah.
Should I go first because mine's the most obvious?
Yeah, go ahead.
Soren Dash.
Yeah, you would.
I ship Soren Dash so hard. I ship Soren Dash so hard. So hard.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's mine.
All of the fanfics.
So many fanfics.
Well, I would go Pinkie Pie and Pinkie Pie. Poultry pairing.
Yeah, you would.
Of course she can ship with herself.
OTP. She has made
OTP.
multiple versions of herself. All she has to do is keep one.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There is a mirror
Mirrorpool, and then there was the Smile song where there were two of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about Pinkamena and Pinky? Could you settle for that?
I could settle for that, yeah. But I would...
'Cause they're
I
like
would
opposites, and opposites attract, right?
Yeah, true.
What is this? An auction house? Like, are you like selling them down? Like, well, the best I can do is make Mina. I'll throw in a song.
Can we do
No,
three Pinkie
I
Pies?
I would go Cloud Chaser and Thunderlane.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, I like that.
Seems legit.
I'm down with the mohawk, though. I just like his hair.
Yeah.
I am
his hair's
cuddling my Cloud Chaser plushie right now.
good.
You're gonna have
alright,
to get
Thunderlane.
Thunderlane plushie now.
Yeah.
Settled. Thought I gotta go.
I like Apple Dash.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I do.
do.
Well, see,
I don't
now
know
that's
why.
funny, because besides from the Pinkie Pie, which was more of a joke, that's like two female OCs, like, as a ship on the show, which,
Not OCs.
well, excuse
Not
me,
OCs.
characters, main characters, that would be really interesting, but on it, one of those things.
On the
Besides
show,
the
it
fact
would-
that it would never happen,
wouldn't-
I think would be really
it
cool
wouldn't
in
work.
animation.
Well, there is Lyra
Yeah.
Bon. Lyra and Bon Bon are always
Are
together.
you stealing Flutterguy's answer then, Burn?
No, the Lyra and Bon Bon was good. I think that would create a really unique dynamic if the animators kept going with that little, like, nuances that they have been
True.
doing. If they keep going with that
True.
and kind of bring a little bit more canon into it, that would be really cool. And so, like, realistically speaking, I would like that would be really cool if they did kind of bring that ship in. But
Yeah.
also,
Well, they-
realistically speaking, what were you saying?
They started Lyra Bon because their colours work really well together, and because
Yeah,
the fandom
yeah.
liked it so much, they kept going with it.
Yeah, which is perfect, and I think they should.
So what's your choice?
Because, like, I think it speaks well. Realistically speaking, if I had a choice to bring, like, a ship into the show, like, actually into the show, I wouldn't. Because I like how the show stays away from drama.
what a hipster answer.
I can't say...
What a
I can't say
gigantic
Toy-
hipster answer.
So,
Lose your
first
hair and
off,
nobody
oh
likes
my
you
God.
anymore.
I can't say curse words on the show, but I have some for you. Second off,
Look,
I feel really strongly about that. Hipster
Yeah.
glasses aside, because they're in the other room, like, I love how the show doesn't have to do with stupid relationship drama in
Burned.
boys and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Burned may I?
forget you.
Burned.
Yes.
I heavily agree as well. If they bring ships into the show, it's a very big mistake that they shouldn't do.
Right.
But it's a silly question.
No,
His answer
the
is
question was
silly.
there and I answered it, and I don't really have
Well,
any kind of...
It's
His answer's Lyra and Bon Bon.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah, pretty
it's
much.
like the whole controversy. Sorry, Brandon. I'll let you go in a
for
second.
it.
But it's like the whole controversy with Twilight and what's his name from
Flash Sentry.
Flash Sentry. It's like
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, enough
I
of
still
that
haven't
nonsense.
seen
I-
Equestria Girls.
I completely agree with you that like ships should stay out of the canon
Yeah.
show because
Oh, yeah,
it's
like,
for sure.
very good without all
in
the
the
drama.
movie for what it was, like, that was cute, you know? And... But, yeah.
Was it? I haven't
in
seen
a
it, so I don't
high
know.
school setting, because that's what the movie was, you're instantly in Kim Possible realm, where it's like, oh my gosh, you're in high school? Sure, it's cute for what it is. But I take
But
the
so
Adventure Time
not the
status
drama.
on that one episode, where she literally shoves whatever Marceline's male version was away and was like, no, I don't need you, and I don't need this relationship because I can be ready for it whenever the heck I want, so forget you. And that was the moral of the whole episode, and it was awesome. And I was like, that had never been presented to me ever in animation. I was like, that is amazing. Blew my mind.
Yeah, no. I think we're all in agreement that we don't want it. We don't want ships to actually be on this show. But you know, if there was one ship, then I think we've all kind of adequately.
Cute ships, Lyra and Bomb. I'll go for that. Then anything with Rainbow Dash.
See, you know, we're all 4 different personality types and 4 different people, but somehow you have all matched up with my shipping preferences. So that's strange.
You can have
some sort of deep-seated
Sora and Dash.
OTP.
OTP.
No,
well then.
I mean, shipping is just a guilty pleasure too. It's just like, you know, these characters would be cute together, and like there's a lot of good artwork of some that, you know.
Yeah. Like when we had White Diamonds on the show, she was like, I love shipping Rarity and Applejack, but it's like they never work as a couple.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really made it motivated her to create more fantastic art too. So
yeah,
that's one of those things too. It's like because opposites attract.
Actually, if we can,
we'd never get no. Burned, absolutely not.
If we can go
Just
with like non-canon characters or people, can I say that my favorite shipping would be Rainbow Plasma and Cookie Dough Ice Cream?
Can I ship with Burns' new haircut? I'd be down for that.
I'm going to allow this.
So,
Sorry,
I expect at least 10 different pieces of fan art after this episode about all the types of ships.
We expect
so much from our fans.
You know, it's actually funny because I think I'm the only one who doesn't have an R63 version of my pony.
I've got one because you made it.
Well, that's because you have a female OC representing your male form.
But nobody's made male me.
And no one needs to. You're already a male in a woman's body.
Wait, since when have I had a woman's body?
You're a mare.
I think you. Okay, well, I mean,
keep a pony. We're all ponies. We're not real people.
Bernd, if I may do a closing remark, I just wanted to bring up one more thing, and that's just Dusk Shine transition.
Oh, look at that face. Oh man, that is a sexy face.
Man. Zoom in on it, and fantastic.
I don't have to because the video does for me.
Oh, great. All right. Well, that is everything for this week. That was a strange episode, but I'm glad we did it.
It was weird.
It was weird, but you know what? Every once in a while, we have to have a weird episode, and I'm glad it was episode 63 we did it for. You know what? Honestly, if we were going to have a Rule 63 episode, I was expecting it to be weird, so
yep.
I think it went pretty well considering.
Yeah.
So, definitely, you guys should definitely check out more Rule 63 stuff out and try it for yourself to see if you can get those personalities down. I think that's it for this. So, want to plug
Draw me with a haircut.
Yeah, you should do that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm begging.
Okay. Draw me as a dude.
I miss my hair. I cried.
Plugs.
Draw me ship with rain cloud.
Plugs. Drugs.
Drugs?
What? Drugs?
This is a PG show, Rainbow Plasma. Please don't encourage our users to go do drugs.
Why did I say that?
Okay, so I'm going to do drugs. We have a DeviantArt account, which is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. We also have an email address, which is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. We have social media, which is Facebook, Cutie Art Crusaders, Twitter @CutieArtCrusade, and YouTube.com/Cutie Art Crusaders is our channel. So go there, you can all contact us through those channels.
Our theme for next week is going to be Lyra because we've already recorded that. And, Yeah, it's gonna be weird because I don't know if we're gonna re-record the intro and the outro, so it might say episode 63 again, and it might say Friday the 13th again, but
we'll just crudely paste 64 over. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Oh my god! All right.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Whether or not you're on YouTube or the live stream, we love you all the same. This has been one crazy episode, and my name is Rainbow Plasma.
I burned.
I'm Flutter Guy.
I'm Apple Spark.
Oh, that was creepy. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Yay.
Bye.